Welcome to Native Talk Arizona, presented by Native Health and KRDP 90.7 FM. Later in the show, we'll learn about the Native American Fitness Council with Brian Laban. And Donovan Pete will tell us about the Navajo Nation Library. But right now, host Lanasha Pawadi talks with Kelly R. Vallo about the Intertribal Council of Arizona.
I'm host Lanasha Pawadi. In the studio with me today is Kelly R. Vallo, Native Youth Coordinator for the Intertribal Council of Arizona, providing its member tribes with a united voice and the means for united action on matters that affect them collectively and individually. Hello, Kelly. It's an honor to have you on our show today.
Thank you so much for having me. Hello to you as well.
And before we get started, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey with ITCA?
Yes, so yat everybody. My name is Kelly Vallo. I'm a Twidditch Eatney, Jonah Ednei Bashichin, Deshchini Dashche, Akohni Dene Dashanella. So I am of the Bitterwater clan, born for the Sun People clan. My maternal clan is the start of the Red Streak people, and my paternal clan is the Acoma Pueblo. So I'm half Navajo and half Acoma. I'm also a member of the Navajo Nation, and my journey with ITCA, and actually my overall journey, actually started 14 years ago. So I've been a Dene Navajo social worker for over 14 years, worked in different aspects, in grassroots to now community. I started with the Intertribal Council of Arizona in April of 2022 as a Native Youth Coordinator.
Oh, wow. That is so amazing. And it's a pleasure to have you today. So let's start with the basics. Can you tell us about Intertribal Council of Arizona? What is it?
So the Intertribal Council of Arizona, acronyms ITCA, was established in 1952. It was established to provide a united voice for tribal government. And then in 1975, the council was established under the nonprofit corporation ITCA.Inc. with the state of Arizona. And this was to promote Indian self-reliance through public policy development.
And how many different departments are there?
So we actually have 6 focuses. We have health, environment, learning, culture, and community. And I work under the focus of health. And so what I do is I provide youth mental health first aid training for Indigenous communities.
And you mentioned your department. Can you tell us more about kind of what your department does and what programs are offered with the Youth Mental Health First Aid?
So our department, which is the health department, we have different areas in which we provide support, technical assistance and training to tribal communities. We have age and services. We have healthy Native youth. We have, of course, my department, the Youth Mental Health First Aid, WIC. So it focuses on these different areas to where we're able to provide training and technical assistance to tribal communities that we work with.
And then going further into your area, can you tell us what is the Youth Mental Health First Aid?
So Youth Mental Health First Aid is actually a new agency, a new program that was established with the Arizona Department of Health Services. So we were able to create the Youth Mental Health First Aid in regards to mental health in tribal communities. The Youth Mental Health First Aid with ITCA, the Intertribal Council of Arizona, we provide, again, training and technical assistance to professionals in tribal communities, rural and urban, professionals that work with Indigenous youth. And so pretty much Youth Mental Health First Aid, it teaches how to identify, understand, respond to signs and symptoms of mental health and substance abuse challenges. And it also is for, again, professionals who work with Indigenous youth ages 12 to 18. However, I do like to also just work with providers that work with younger youth, because usually around age 6 is when you'll really start seeing the development of mental health, and if there are any challenges associated to that. So right now there is a new, I don't want to say it's new, but it's more implemented now in organizations and facilities, called, birth to 5 assessments. And so that's where behavioral health professionals, as well as medical providers are able to assess the development of babies from 0 to 5 months in regards to possible mental health challenges, or at least in the development stages. And so at the age of 6 is where you would really see the different changes in mental health in youth. And then around the ages of 12 is where you'll really see that associated with behaviors. And so this Youth Mental Health First Aid is a training provided to Indigenous communities, for Indigenous communities, especially those professionals that work within these areas.
It is really providing a lot of education to providers who work with the youth in the tribal community. So it is sounds like it is a great program. Are there any cultural components to this education?
Yes, there actually is. So before Youth Mental Health First Aid for Indigenous communities, it was just Youth Mental Health First Aid. Youth Mental Health First Aid, or Mental Health First Aid, was actually started in Australia. And in the 2000s, it was brought here to the U.S. Following that, Youth Mental Health First Aid was then established and brought over, and then started Teen Youth Mental Health First Aid, and then the blended courses, which is a course that you can take virtually and in person, or you may take the pre-course work, which is online, and then have an in-person training. And so that's what the blended means. And then lastly, they just, I believe last year, 2022, they just established the Youth Mental Health First Aid for Indigenous communities. The cultural aspect is allowing the trainers to be able to be more mindful and to be more respectful in that sense of acknowledging Indigenous cultures, acknowledging different Indigenous communities, and also to keep in mind, what historical trauma looks like, what mental health in those communities would look like. All with respect to the traditional and cultural structures of each community. And so Youth Mental Health First Aid training, me as an instructor, and me being Indigenous as well, I am able to go into these communities and train these providers in understanding what that tradition and culture looks like overall for Indigenous people, rather than just treating it as a general training.
And what are some of the topics that you would talk to about the providers?
Well, Youth Mental Health First Aid is provided through ALGEE, which is ALGEE, and A standing for Assessing the Risk of Suicide. L would be listening non-judgmentally. G, giving reassurance. E, encouraging self-help. And again, E, encouraging professional help. So those are the areas of topics that we cover. We go over each acronym, starting with A. We then provide scenarios on how you would apply the A, all the way down to the very last acronym, which is E. And so these are pretty much areas of signs and symptoms. We definitely do give a disclaimer. We definitely do give reminders that when you do take the Youth Mental Health First Aid training, you are not diagnosing or treating. We are not therapists. However, we are here to see those signs and symptoms. Usually professionals that work within the educational department, or those that work with after-school programs, for example, they're ones that would possibly take the training just because they're around the students a lot. So they may see different behaviors, they may see different signs and symptoms. So taking this training will help them get an idea of what this looks like when it comes to their mental health or substance abuse challenges. So we do cover different areas of what diagnoses are out there. We do cover substance abuse, and we also cover suicide, and that being one of the highest, there's a highest rate of suicide in Indigenous communities. That's more of the topic that a lot of a lot of staff do get trained in.
And who would you recommend should take these training courses?
Anybody that
Mm-hmm.
works with youth or anybody that have youth, actually. It's open to professionals, it's open to parents, it's open to, churches, it's open to just anybody that works with Indigenous youth. And parents have taken the training. And some of the parents that have taken my training have been like, wow, I didn't understand.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what's going on. Or some of them are like, oh, that's a refresher. Okay, so now I know I can move forward
Mm-hmm.
with this.
And how long is the training?
Technically, it varies depending
Mm-hmm.
on what type of training you want to take. If you want to take an in-person training, it's usually a 6 to 8 hour training, which I like to break up in two because it is a lot of information.
Mm-hmm.
And, bless your heart to the agencies that are like, we want to do a one-day training. That's awesome. But it is overwhelming because there is a lot of information. There are a lot of scenarios. There are a lot of, topic discussions where in most of the training structure, it's just like, okay, let's talk about this and move on.
Mm-hmm.
But in my trainings, I like to continue those discussions because I do want to have those that are participating, be comfortable
Mm-hmm.
with the training and understanding the signs and symptoms, but also, be able to have all their questions answered.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I am available if they have questions afterwards, but it's good to do it in a setting where everyone like, oh, I might have that question too.
Mm-hmm.
And so to have that answered. If you were to do it in a breakup, or I guess if you want to do, take the training in increments, I usually do half-day trainings. So it's a 2-day training from half the day.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like 4 hours in the morning, and then the second day, another 4 hours in the morning.
And why do you think it is important to bring these programs and trainings to the Indian community or just tribal communities in general?
Well, mental health has always been a part of Indigenous communities. It is what we call our holistic
Mm-hmm.
healing. And I feel that it's very important to be able to bring mental health because in a lot of Indigenous communities, it isn't just physical or spiritual. It's also mental health and emotional. And there's a lot of stigma in regards to mental health. One being in particular that Indigenous communities, we don't talk about, our traumas, and we don't
Mm-hmm.
talk about our problems. And that is not accurate because we've always talked about our emotions, and we've always talked about the mental health challenges that we have. However, after the colonial experience, that kind of just was put in the minds that we don't have these conversations.
Mm-hmm.
But more or less because of the stigma that surrounds mental health, possibly also the mistrust of the system, a lot of the mental health challenges, especially within our youth, are forgotten or not supported or not taken seriously. I believe that mental health is very important when it comes to youth development. And for us to actually have this type of training, these type of programs to address that in our mental health is a part of the Indigenous healing that we need
Mm-hmm.
overall as a community.
Oh, yes, definitely. Thank you for sharing that, Kelly. And finally, how can our listeners learn more about the Intertribal Council of Arizona and also the Youth Mental Health First Aid? And how can they contact you if they are interested in this training or just wanting to learn more information?
Definitely. You can definitely visit the ITCA website, www.itca.com. You can also reach me at my contact information, which is Kelly R. Vallo, Native Youth Coordinator, Intertribal Council of Arizona, 480-417-2249, or you may email me at kelly.vallo@itcaonline.com.
Well, we'd like to thank you, Kelly, for taking time out to talk to us today to tell us more about ITCA and about your amazing programs as well.
Thank you so much for having me.
Coming up, we'll learn about the Native American Fitness Council with Brian Laban. Support for KRDP 90.7 FM comes in part from Native Health, with 2 locations in Phoenix, 4041 North Central Avenue, Building C, near the corner of Central Avenue and Indian School Road, and at 2423 West Dunlap Avenue. Native Health is also located in Mesa at 777 West Southern Avenue, near the corner of Southern Avenue and Extension Road. Native Health provides primary medical, dental, behavioral health, WIC, and wellness services for the urban Native American community. For more information, call 602-279-5262 or visit our webpage at nativehealthphoenix.org.
Welcome back to Native Talk Arizona, presented by Native Health and KRDP 90.7 FM. I'm host Lanasha Puwadi. The Native American Fitness Council offers fitness instructor certifications that train Native Americans to be exercise leaders in their communities. On the phone with me is Brian Laban, lead instructor. Hello, Brian. It's an honor to have you on our show today.
Hello, Nasha.
And before we get started, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey with the Native American Fitness Council?
My name is Brian Laban. My tribe is Hopi Tewa, located in the northeastern part of Arizona on the Hopi Reservation. I currently reside in Flagstaff, Arizona. I am currently the Director of Culture and Education for the Native American Fitness Council. My journey to the Native American Fitness Council started about 20 years ago when I met my friend and colleague, John Blevernick. He was doing a presentation for the Tuba City Indian Healthcare Center for their diabetes prevention program. It was an exercise program he created called Walking Strong. I really liked the information and his style of presentation. After the training was over, I approached John and said that I would really like to work with him. I am willing to do whatever it takes. I will carry the water buckets. John always tells that part of the story over and over. But John also had to evaluate me of how I implemented the Walking Strong program. So we kept in communication. I had to volunteer a few times at his trainings. One was in Winslow, Arizona, and another one was in Kayenta, Arizona. I also saw him do a presentation at a Perform Better conference in Phoenix. John was also in contact with a Navajo woman, Alfreda Barton, who was a fitness instructor in the Window Rock area. We all had the same idea of creating Native fitness organization, so we pulled our knowledge and our passion and created Native American Fitness Council. We started in 2004, and we started small and worked mainly in Arizona, then expanded to the Southwest area. Now we get to work with and travel to many of the tribes in the United States and Alaska.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that, Brian. And so how did you first get interested in fitness? Did you always have an interest in fitness at a young age?
Not really. I did various work in construction and various other things on the reservation. When my children were very young, an opportunity came to the Hopi Reservation, a martial arts training program. It was in the Korean martial art of Taekwondo, but it was only for the youth. So I took my daughters and they joined and started the training. I asked if I could join and train, but the Korean master said no. It was only for children. But the next week I asked again, and the following week I asked again and again. Each time the answer was the same answer. No, it's only for the children. One day the Korean master said that if I could get two others along with myself to commit to martial arts training, that he would train us, just in case he couldn't make it for class, and then we could run classes. So I trained in the martial arts with the Korean master, then his master, Grandmaster Ha. I also went to Korea and trained with many masters, grandmasters, professors, and other martial artists in many other styles. Had many martial artists from the Martial Arts University in Korea come and stay with me on the Hopi Reservation just to train and run classes. And finally moved to Tuba to run my martial arts school full time. Classes were in the evening, so I needed something to keep me occupied during the day. I actually received a scholarship from the Navajo Nation Special Diabetes Project to get certified as a personal trainer from the Cooper's Institute from Dallas, Texas. I received my certification as a personal trainer, then got a job as a personal trainer at the Tuba City Indian Healthcare Center, Wellness Center. So I was always involved in a lot of fitness, so it was a really easy transition to the Native American Fitness Council.
Oh, wow, that is great. And then talking about the Fitness Council, can you tell us more about it?
The Native American Fitness Council is a nonprofit that trains Native Americans to be fitness instructors in their community. Our tagline is Training Native Trainers. Many of our Native participants come to us and say, I really like the way of your training. I do not learn very quickly by reading and studying from a book, but I learn through hands-on. Our cultures are not passed down through studying from a book, but actually going through it and learning hands-on. That's how we Natives learn. The Native American Fitness Council not only provides hands-on training in the fitness industry, but also provides the top and latest information to be shared with our trainers. Our instructors have specialties in various areas that they provide. We also have instructors like Dr. Jack Daniels, who specializes in high-altitude training, present the cardio training, who has also helped us update our information so it's the most updated and really with practical information. We feel that if we have many expert trainers in various fields and perspectives, that will give the most benefit to our Native trainers. Many Native trainers feel like they do not get the best services, but more like they receive substandard services. So the Native American Fitness Council wants to give the most updated, best, and practical information so our Native trainers can be successful at helping people in their communities.
And what kind of programs are offered?
We offer many programs that work with from youth to the elderly, and also some specialty programs. Our main program is the personal trainer. It is where you learn the core concepts of training and training in a gym or wellness center setting. There are many components, but like we say, if you understand and can set up someone with the ABCs, then you can train the other components with safe and beneficial techniques. ABC stands for alignment, balance, and coordination, and are some of the first things you learn. Then you can apply it to strength, functional, stamina, and other fitness components. There are other specialty trainings like functional exercise trainer, where you learn concepts of functional exercise and how to apply it to equipment like sandbags, battle ropes, kettlebells, suspension traps, medicine balls, and all those other fun equipment. And there we have Native Youth Fitness Leader, where you learn to work with Native youth through physical activity and games to help teach the youth physical attributes like hand-eye coordination, cross patterns for brain development, and many other things. Also character development like integrity, team building, teamwork, leadership development, and more. There's also teaching culture and history through the Native games. And we have exercise and aging specialists. That is where you learn to work with the elderly with balance and posture to help increase their flexibility, strength, coordination, and other concepts to help make activity fun and not really call it exercise. But that's just to help with their everyday living. And there's medical conditions and exercise where you learn to work with individuals that have been diagnosed with different medical conditions such as diabetes, arthritis, cancer, or other injuries. What the guidelines are to look out for and how to modify and to help anyone to be successful to improve their overall health.
Wow, these programs sound like they are very beneficial to our overall community health. So to dive deeper into the training, who is the training geared for? I know you mentioned that the some of your programs you work with youth all the way up to elders. What about for the fitness training, personal trainer?
Well, all our trainings are geared for those 18 and up. for both male and female, and really with whoever works with helping others get fit in their community. Most of the participants work for wellness centers, diabetes prevention programs, youth centers, elderly centers, and other programs that deal with physical activity.
And are there any scholarships available for individuals who want to be trained?
Yes, there are scholarships available during the bigger trainings. We usually advertise the scholarships during the event announcements, but we also have smaller trainings that we do with where the tribes bring us in, and we work with just their specific tribes. So we don't really have scholarships during that time. During our bigger ones, yes.
And how is these training programs different from other programs? Like, are there any cultural components to this education?
Well, yeah, there's some cultural components to these trainings. Some of the things that we try to bring awareness to is how to approach people, especially elders. Elders are more culturally aware and need more awareness when it comes to personal space and context. We also, teach history and culture through tribal games and activities, and adding some cultural components to it. I think like one of the games that we play is we call Messengers Run, and we just kind of give a little history behind it, and it's about the Pueblo Revolt, and so we can add some history there. One of our instructors created a chair exercise using the piki making process. And she talks about the process and the experience of making piki, and what is the main cultural aspects of it, and it's also entertaining and fun when she speaks about her experience. So, yeah, it's different. We try to keep the native portion of it, and when we do, a lot of our native participants, not just the trainers, but our native participants, enjoy that part of so-called exercise, but just having fun activities.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. And where is this program taught or implemented?
Well, our trainings are scheduled mainly in the spring, summer, and fall. Right now, we're partnered with 2 tribes and their facilities to provide the trainings. The Laban of Ojibwe in Hinckley, Minnesota, and the Citizens Potawatomi Nation in Shawnee, Oklahoma. They're the 2 sites that a lot of our trainings are scheduled through those times of spring, summer, and fall. In October, there's a training in Minnesota, and in November we have the training in Oklahoma. We also work directly with tribes with training their tribal programs and staff. Like we just finished last month training with the Tohono O'odham Nation. Our next few trainings with other tribes are with the Corleone tribe in Idaho, the Ute Mountain tribe in Cortez, Colorado, and the Navajo tribe in Shiprock, New Mexico. And we also have another big training in August at the Nike headquarters campus in Beaverton, Oregon. And I think it's called Native Fitness 17, which is sponsored by the Northwest Portland Indian Health Board. So we actually get all over the country. I think we've worked with the Seminole tribe in Florida, and also I don't think they call them tribes, but mainly they call them villages up in Alaska. So we got to go up there and do some trainings there as well.
Oh, wow, that is so awesome. So, Brian, how can our listeners learn more about the Native American Fitness Council, and how can they contact you if they have further questions?
You can learn more about Native American Fitness Council on our website, nativeamericanfitnesscouncil.com. It's all one word, no spaces. Also, you can keep up to date of our training and other activities on our Facebook page, Native American Fitness Council. We are in the process of actually updating our website. We just turned nonprofit just right when COVID started, so we couldn't actually do much work when COVID hit. But this past year, a lot of requests for trainings has picked up again. So now one of our short-term goals is to redo our website, especially now that we are a nonprofit. But people can reach me at the email address at brian@nativeamericanfitnesscouncil.com or through our Facebook page, Native American Fitness Council. I think you can message me on their messenger, or I think on our Facebook page you can email. It's info@nativeamericanfitnesscouncil.com.
That's awesome. I would like to thank you, Brian, for taking time out to talk to us today to tell us more about the Native American Fitness Council and all of the programs that you have to offer.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. I think these programs are great, and a lot of our people that come to our trainings are empowered and can get out there and help other people in their community.
Up next, host Lanasha Pawadi talks with Donovan Pete about the Navajo Nation Library. Support for KRDP 90.7 FM comes in part from Native Health, with 2 locations in Phoenix, 4041 North Central Avenue, Building C, near the corner of Central Avenue and Indian School Road, and at 2423 West Dunlap Avenue. Native Health is also located in Mesa at 777 West Southern Avenue, near the corner of Southern Avenue and Extension Road. Native Health's patient enrollment specialist can help you enroll, renew, or update your access information. This can be done in person, on the phone, or via Zoom, days, nights, or weekends. It's fast, easy, and can make a difference in keeping your health care coverage. For more information, call 602-285-9492.
Welcome back to Native Talk Arizona, presented by Native Health and KRDP 90.7 FM. I'm host Lanasha Pawadi. Donovan Pete is the Community Library Manager for the Navajo Nation Library. He also serves as the Program Manager for 3 branch libraries and a growing community library system. He has been working to change the library system from a place of books to a community hub where all Diné can read, explore, engage, and learn. Hello, Donovan. It's an honor to have you on our show today.
Hello. It's really good to be on.
And before we get started, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, as tradition usually dictates, I'll go ahead and introduce myself in our traditional way. So, nakhe dene nenchla, jilka dene kiani ye bashishin, might day shishin dashche. Not oh dene tkachi ne dashnala. On late and sponsor a danasha. Are dene benal sos so then a not on in the shle. The sahutsui a ba'anatnish. So usually it's always protocol for us to introduce ourselves and just to make family connections with, in this case, with listeners. So that's one way in being able to do that. So that I'm really glad to be on with you all and to be able to talk about the Navajo Nation Library and the system as a whole as well.
Oh, yes, definitely. Yeah, for that introduction as well, Donovan. And to get into it, can you tell us some more about the Navajo Nation Library?
Yes. So as you mentioned before, we have 3 branches. So we have the main branch here in Winter Rock, Arizona, and then we have another one out in Kayenta, Arizona, and then we have one on the far east end of the New Mexico area, and that is the Torreon Community Library. And so that is neighboring to the Hemish Pueblo as well as the Hickory Apache tribal communities. So we are, of course, with the Navajo Nation tribal government, So we are under the executive branch of the Navajo Nation tribal government. So in that, we're also generally funded. So Navajo Nation Council does fund the Navajo Nation. So we are adjacent to the Navajo Nation Museum as well. So we always like to say, like, we're definitely separate programs and separate divisions because, of course, we have our own plan of operations, and we have our own visions and goals. And so sometimes it's very common because the Navajo Nation Library itself is definitely working to get out of the shadow of the museum. So for us, what we're trying to do is set up very unique programs, very unique to the Navajo Nation because a lot of my background does come from working in public libraries as well as academic libraries like the University of Arizona. And then for a public library, I actually worked with the Pima County Public Library System. So having that kind of experience and seeing everything that they had there, and then trying to do that with the Navajo Nation Library. So it's been quite an undertaking to really be able to shift and to really do that, to make people aware of the library as well as all of our different services and our programs. And a lot of our services does revolve around doing like print services, document services. So very commonly, we always get people who come in to do a lot of printing. They do a lot of faxing, copying. So those we consider like our document services. So that's what people really like to come in to use the library for, as well as the computers as well, because we do have access to like a fiber optic connection. And for everyone that it's very fast, and everyone can do like their Zoom meetings, their Teams, and things like that, and be able to do a lot of like the online workshops as well. So that's very helpful to have that. And then with that, because we are kind of coming out of the pandemic as well, especially with the mask mandates and the COVID-19 protocols, that we were hybrid. So we did have events and programs that did take place here at the main library, but also we had it on Zoom. So for quite a while, we were trying to do a lot of things through Zoom. We did author reading and visits through Zoom. And then we've also had it to where we were trying to do like story times, readings, and things like that. And then some of our events, like last year when we had our Read Across America, we actually had that hybrid where we did invite Miss Navajo, as well as former President Jonathan Nez and the First Lady Cecilia Nez, as well as Vice President Myron Leiser. So we definitely had a good amount of individuals come in for the Read Across America. So so we're definitely trying to jam pack a whole lot of different things to show, the library is standing on its own, and it's really having these very unique programs and events that we can really, have people come in to utilize. And so I think that's where a strong part for us is being able to say that, we want people to read, we want them to learn, we want them to engage, and then we also want them to explore. Because there's more to the library than just having these books, and there's a lot of wonderful resources that we want to highlight for everybody to be able to utilize.
Oh, yes, definitely. Thank you for sharing that, Donovan. And it is a great resource for the Navajo Nation community to utilize, as you mentioned. Can you tell us, I know you mentioned that most of the programs and your events were on a hybrid format. Are you going more into in-person programs currently?
Yes, we're still doing hybrid, but I think more so that we are focused on in-person because we really want to be able to get people into the library. So that's a big part of what we're really trying to do is really invite the public to come in. And then we worked with other departments and programs under the Navajo Nation that they could utilize certain spaces here at the library as well. So whether they're doing like workshops or having like little conferences or meetings, things like that. Because we do have a computer lab as well. So that's very utilized by other programs where they can also do their trainings and things like that. So, and then we also have early childhood programming as well. So we do have individuals from like First Things First, as well as from the Kith and Kin project that also come in to really help for individuals that are wanting to learn how to do more with their little ones, especially those that aren't, exactly going to school, like prenatal, as well as kind of like 0 to 5 age range is what some of the programs focus on. So being able to have like an area where everyone can kind of feel safe to be able to talk in, these meeting areas. Here at the library, I think it provides a really good advantage for people to know that they can, feel safe in there, especially in the way that they share or, whatever information they intake from these other programs.
Oh, yeah. And talking about getting out into the community and kind of engaging, trying to get people back into the library, what programs or events or activities are planned for this fall?
So for this fall, we kind of varied up as far as our programming. We actually recently won the Public Library Association's digital workshop incentives. So definitely in the fall, we'll use the stipends from that from that to be able to make purchases for new computers, because we definitely need new equipment and upgraded technologies here. So I think when we're able to do that, then we can, be able to show people, hey, we got new things and we have the fiber optics. So I think we can definitely use a lot of those items to our advantage so that we can definitely enhance, our own services so we can really bring people in. Once everyone knows we have like really good internet speed, then it's like, hey, that's reliable. I can go in there and utilize it, people can bring in their own devices, and being able to utilize, the newer computers so that we can bring people in. So definitely more readings, because we really want to do a lot more author readings and visits. And definitely focusing with Indigenous and Diné authors and scholars. So it'll be really interesting to bring in individuals that, they may have recently had like their PhDs and had their dissertations done, that we would like to invite them in to be able to, speak about their work. And for us, it's more of, I know it's like, when we think of talks like that, it's like, is it library related? Well, for us, it's not really like that. We really want to promote that, the Indigenous scholarship, Indigenous knowledge of ways of thinking. So that'd be great to really promote that, so that people that do come to these events, they know that there's more than one way of thinking about things, and not so, how we think about Billigana-based education and thinking. So we're trying to break out of that shell and to really emphasize that, having that Indigenous way of thinking could be very, very helpful and very productive for people to really understand that. So I think that's where having these authors reading and visits would be really good. And then being able to set up like a community archiving workshop as well, so we can figure out how we can best utilize, the digitizing practices and things like that. So we can open that up to the community. That'll be something really good to look forward to. And then we're also looking at emphasizing more with Diné language and culture as well. So whether that's doing more weaving workshops or having like immersive language learning, like train the trainer type of situations. So we're definitely, running the gamut as far as having a wide variety of things, so that we're just not pigeonholed into one thing.
Oh, yes, definitely. It is good to have a wide variety, so that way you can reach different communities, different age groups and everything. So it sounds like you guys are doing such an amazing job reaching the Navajo Nation community. But Donovan, I do have a question. I don't know if it will be difficult, but what is your favorite program?
Wow, that's really putting me on the spot. I think right now it's kind of a toss-up, because I feel like we're kind of because we're still exploring. I think that's kind of really the interesting part, because my predecessor was here for nearly 41 years, and so I'm essentially the third library director in the Navajo Nation libraries. How can I say, about maybe 50, 60 year history. So I'm only the third one to come in. So being able to come in with kind of a fresher mindset is being able to establish like a lot of programs and events and seeing what sticks. And so for me, I think bringing in a lot of the authors and having them read and really interact. So like for what we had last year, last September, around the Navajo Nation Fair time, was the celebration of Diné authors. So we had Brian Young come in, read for his book Healer of the Water Monster, as well as Daniel Vandiver. And so he did a reading through his book, Horizon. So both of them were awarded through the American Indian Youth Literature Awards. So they both won in 2022. So that was to celebrate that achievement, because I think even in that awards history that they had two Navajos that won at the same time. So I think for us to have that celebration of Diné authors, because we definitely want to set it up as a yearly thing, and I think that's kind of a nice program to have. And then also too having the author reading and visit. So I think that's been really awesome to have, because people get to experience a lot of individuals that do, that they can see these different perspectives that they come in from, and and then of course, and we get books. Usually we'll get the author's books around that time, and for us it's really cool to see, and then that's something that we can catalog and put into the out to the public for people to check in and out. And then recently, so as of this past summer, we also had the summer reading program as well. And that's been for the 2 months, and we've been emphasizing not only the reading portion, but also setting up events and programs around that time. So in this case, like having like a movie Friday, as well as setting up like STEM events. So we had like the paper rocket item that we had the other day. And then just kind of like jellyfish in a bottle. Like that was a really interesting one that they did set up. So I think, jumping forward, I think when we will kind of focus on like the more health conscious ones. So, how to, use a knife properly, especially when you're cutting, foods and things like that, and how to properly handle like a knife, especially when you want to build self-sufficiency for, teens and young adults. So that's something that we'll definitely focus into. So, So, I mean, it's because I'm the director. I'm like, just about everything's my favorite.
That is amazing. All of your programs are really unique, and I love how they are focused on indigenous aspects and everything. It makes me want to move to Window Rock and have my kids a part of the library branch as well and participate in those programs. And finally, how can our listeners learn more about the Navajo Nation Library, and how can they contact you if they have further questions?
Everybody can check us out on our website, on our main website, which is library.navajo-nsn.gov. So that'll be our main website. But of course, you can always find us on social media. We're on Facebook, and that'll be facebook.com/Navajo Nation Library. And then we're also on Instagram, so instagram.com/Navajo Nation Library. And then we're also on Twitter too. So if anybody is still tweeting, wants to be, see be part of our Twitter, it's twitter.com/Navajo Library. And then so usually we always rely on our general email on the website. So that's usually Navajo Nation Library @gmail.com. But of course, you need to reach our staff members here at the library. It's librarystaff@nndode.org. So those are the different ways that we make ourselves available for people to answer any questions at any time.
Perfect. Well, I'd like to thank you, Donovan, for taking time out to talk to us today to tell us more about the Navajo Nation Library branches and about your amazing programs.
Thank you for giving me the time to do this and to really be able to, reach out to even all my good urban Diné folks too. So, because, we're always open for everyone to jump on in, to come on by. All of our services are for people, so we don't charge a dime. We make it as available to everybody as we can.
Thank you for listening to Native Talk Arizona, presented by Native Health and 90.7 FM KRDP. Our executive producer is Susan Levy, sound engineer is Javier Quiroga, and our host is Lanasha Puadi. We hope you will tune in again next week. If you have any questions, please reach us at nativetalkaz@listen2krdp.com.